We're going to look at a situation where it's better to code our segues. And to do that, we're going to use our last project, but we have to clean it up a bit and remove the segues we had before and some of the code that we'd written before. Now, because our text field had an IB outlet, we have to make sure we remove that connection. So we click on the text field, right click in the files area and choose the little cross where that link is set up. And then we can close that. Now we're going to delete our segues, but we need to keep our navigation controller segue. That's really important. So from the red to the yellow, yellow to green, delete my button, delete the red button, and delete the text field. That looks right. So now we'll go to our view controller code. We're going to delete the IB outlet, and we're going to delete the unwind to red piece of code. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to remove our prepare for segue because that's gone too. That looks pretty good. Now let's return back to our storyboard and have a look at what we've got and have a bit of zoom out so we can see the big picture. Now I'm going to move my yellow view controller up the top and the green below it just to give us some definition of what we're actually trying to achieve. It'll make it clearer in a second. What we're going to do is set up two buttons. One you push, it goes to yellow, and the other you push and it goes to the green view controller, but there'll be a toggle in between that if the toggle is off, it won't do any segue. So first of all, let's drag our two buttons on, and they're in place like that. And we'll just get them lined up. And I'm going to call the first button push to yellow. And we'll call the other one push to green. And we'll just tidy that up a bit. And then in our object library, we're going to look for a switch. So let's just go down there, type in switch, and there it is. And we'll drag that up, put that sort of centered. Yes, that looks right. We're going to do our segues, but this time we're actually going to do it from the view controller itself, not from the buttons. So we control click from the view controller link up the top to the yellow, and we choose show, which is kind of what we did before. And then we'll do it again down to the green. And you'll notice that the segues will appear. And now because we are setting the segues up this way, we have to actually give our segues an identifier so we can call on them. So when you click on them, you can go into the attributes and give them a name. So the first one we're going to call yellow. And then we'll go to the green segue. And then we're going to give the identifier green so that we know when we refer to them what they are. Now we're going to start coding. So we need to actually put some outlets into our code. So the first one we're going to do is a switch. So we'll just control click over and we'll just call this one segue switch. Now that's created. What I need to do is create an IB action that will run when we click our buttons. So the first one's coming over here. Make sure we change it to an action. And we can call this one yellow button tapped. So basically, when we tap the yellow button, what are we going to do? Yep, that looks good. And now we'll do the same for the push to green button. Control click down, make sure it's an action, and we'll call this one green button tapped, which makes sense. And connect. Great. Let's get back to our code. Now we're going to put in our code for what will happen when we push our yellow button. First thing this code does is check to see if the switch has been toggled on. So we say if segue switch, which is the name that we gave our outlet for the switch. And we're going to use the property is on. So we write dot is on. And if it is on, so we'll just put our open bracket. We are going to perform a segue. So we start typing perform and right down the bottom there it is, segue. And with identifier of yellow, which is the identifier we gave that segue in our storyboard. And we're going to set the sender to nil because we're actually calling our segue from the button push. Now we're basically going to do exactly the same thing, but in the green button tapped. So if segue switch is on, we're going to perform our segue, this time with identifier green. Make sure our sender says nil, and that looks good. Okay, let's see how that works. Let's build and run our code. So we'll hit the play button. And here it comes. So we should be, the switch is on and off and on. So when we click the segue, it should work. Yes, it does. We'll just try the green one. Yep, the segue occurs. Now let's try it with the switch off. Click on our segue, nothing, nothing. Look at that. Back on, boom, works straight away. That's pretty good. So that finishes using segues and navigation view controllers. And the next thing we'll probably look at is using tab view controllers. So we'll see you in those movies.